page 26 of Sotah, and we are in the middle of the page as we finished yesterday a segment of the learning, and we're talking about different types of situations where they either they drink the potion or they don't drink the potion. So it starts like this: Eishes mamzer lamamzer. So we say that someone who's married, someone who's a bastard married to a bastard, also you give her to drink or she doesn't get her ksuva. To verify if when he warned her, nothing happened when she hid with the person she was hidden with. So obvious, like everyone who's married, we give them that opportunity. And a mamzer and a mamzeres, a bastard and a bastard, are allowed to get married to each other. But we would think part of what the Torah says is that if she is found innocent, they're allowed to live together, and there are many blessings that come with it. So we would think that we don't want to encourage a mamzer and a mamzeres to get more bastards into the world. So we say we would think that the law doesn't apply there. The Sotah law was not made for this type of marriage. It says no, still in law it's made for this marriage. Then we said the wife of a convert, a servant who was released, a non-Jewish servant who did a partial conversion, no one's released and became a full Jew. And the island is, so we would think that a convert is not included because it says speak to the Jewish people. Maybe converts are excluded. So he says no, converts are included, especially because it says V'amarta, meaning including all types of marriages that are Jewish marriages. Now, if the wife of a kohen drinks, so let's say a kohen was married to a woman and he warned her and then she was caught with someone, so he has to give her to drink or she doesn't take the ksuva. So obvious, I mean, everyone in the marriage, they get to drink. What is the reason we would think she would not be allowed to drink the potion to prove she's innocent? Because we would think that we said in the verse, it says that if she wasn't forced in the relationship, then she is, if she was forced, if she wasn't forced, she's forbidden. But if she was forced, she's not forbidden. So we know that a woman who's married to a regular Jew, if she was raped or had a relation that was forced, she's forbidden to her husband. But someone who's married to a kohen, even if she was forced into an affair, into an extramarital relation, she's not allowed to be married to her husband. So we would think, so what's the point of her drinking if anyway she's going to be forbidden to her husband, even if it comes out that she had relations by force? So the answer is that yes, because if she didn't have relations and it wasn't proven, so then it is not a problem that they can stay married. And she's permitted to be with her husband. A kohen, the wife of kohen, is permitted with her husband. She comes out, the rest of drinking the potion, and she's good. It's obvious. It means that she didn't do anything. So we're talking about the misnavda. Misnavda means that all of a sudden she starts falling apart. So misnavda, we said sometimes the woman dies right away, but sometimes, especially if there's a merit, she slowly starts deteriorating. So if she's deteriorating, that means that she had a relation, so she's forbidden. So why should she be married again? It says that when she's not deteriorating, and specifically in the womb and in the place, the uterus, the place where she gave the relations happened, because that's where the Sotah, the woman who's a Sotah, gets her punishment. But it happened in their head and other parts of her body. So we would think it happened in the other parts of the body, and we would think that perhaps the reason it's happening in other parts of the body because she was forced. So we say no. If it happens in other parts of the body, it's not because of this being a relationship that she had that was forbidden, but nothing happened between them. But there's other reasons that it's happening. Eishes is the wife of someone who has castrated himself as drinks. So we would think the Torah says, besides your husband. But he, meaning someone who can give birth, someone have children, someone who castrated himself, makes that their all of their relations don't have any value because they can never give birth to anyone. So he says no, as long as he had relations with his wife before, no matter what his condition is now, then he is allowed, she drinks, and she's allowed to be with him afterwards. But actually the law is that someone who castrated himself, someone who's castrated from from heaven, meaning they can't have children, is one thing. Masonu castrated himself, they're not allowed to be together. Then the Gemara says, I'll call it is Mekanan, they're allowed to be warned for every type of person. Obviously, we would think that for people who are related, you're not allowed to warn. So could you warn someone against their father, their brother? So we would think it says twice the word nitma, they became impure. So one is for the husband, one is for the one who was impure, who she had relations with, and now she becomes forbidden to both. But if she was already forbidden to the other one, because it's a relative you're not allowed to marry, we would think you cannot warn. So he says, no, you're allowed to warn even against a relative or someone who you're not allowed to marry. Then it says, except for a child, because the Torah says a man and not a child. Now, someone who else is not a man? What else are we going to say not a man? So we say, if we say we're coming to exclude someone who's called a shachaf. A shachaf is someone who's very frail body, that he can't even have a proper sexual relations and he can't ejaculate. So someone like that, we would think that what's the point of warning when the guy can't even have a proper relation? But the Gemara says we can't accept that because Shmuel said that a shachov, someone in that situation, you're allowed to warn against them, and actually he can make a woman possible trumas, even though he can have intimacy, but he cannot ejaculate. But still, if he's with a woman who's a kohen, then he can make her puzzle that she can no more eat truma because he violates her and she gets desecrated from her kahuna from being a kohen. Obviously, you can warn in the situation because it says that a person who sleeps with her and he's sleeping with her. So we would think if it said the person who sleeps with her and only someone who can finish off their intimacy, but someone who cannot wouldn't be included. So we say no, he's included. But why would we think if he can be with her intimately, why do we think he cannot make her invalidate her to eat truma as a kohen, the daughter of a kohen? But we would think it says lo yachal zara, that you cannot desecrate her children. Someone who can have children, but someone who has no children cannot not have children because he can't ejaculate. We think he cannot desecrate her. So it says no, he can desecrate her as well. So then we think when it says not a man, who maybe it's coming to exclude a Gentile, that a Gentile you also cannot warn to her to be with a Gentile. But didn't Rav Nuna say that through a Gentile you can warn against a Gentile, and the Gentile can also make a woman invalid who is a kohen from eating truma? Obviously, you can warn against her because it's forbidden. She's forbidden to be with a Gentile. But we would think it says nitma twice. One is to make her forbidden now to her husband. One is to make her forbidden to the one she had relations with. So that is only for someone who already who was permitted to her before, but now is forbidden. But someone who was forbidden before, we would think it wouldn't be included. So it teaches us no, that even someone like this is included. You would ask a question, why would we think that you wouldn't make her puzzle forbidden for truma, for eating truma? She says, it says the daughter of a kohen who will be to a foreign person. And we say kisiya. So we say someone who you could be with, but you're not supposed to be with. And we would think that a Gentile is not someone you can be with. A person can never marry a Gentile. So therefore it tells us no, even a Gentile can make her, invalidate her for eating truma. Because Rabbi Yochanan said, name Rabbi Shmuel, that even a Gentile or a servant who's not fully a Jew, who came, had intimacy with a daughter of a kohen, even a Levite and a Jewish woman, that they become puzzled, they become invalidated. So then we would think, so what could it be not a man? Who else could we say that you don't warn a kid? They can't warn against what? So the Gemara answers, it's coming to exclude an animal. Unfortunately, it's very uncommon, but sometimes a human maybe have bestiality. So we say you can't warn, don't be with this animal, because animal, the whole idea of relations doesn't really exist. The Torah warns against it, and it's a sin, doesn't really exist. So Rava from Praskia said to Ravashi, how do we know that there's no znus, that the idea about being with an animal is not in the same category as any other type of forbidden relation? Because it says that you're not allowed to bring someone who has a relation with the woman, and he says that I'm going to pay you for your service with an animal, etc. You're not allowed to bring it to the mizbech. You're not allowed to bring that animal to the altar. So we learned that that what happened if he said that have relations with this dog or with this animal, and I'll give you something in return. So there, you're allowed to bring that animal that he gave in return. Why? Because this is not considered a relation when it's with an animal. So if it's not considered a relation, now the Gemara goes back and it says, why do you need, if a shachuf, if someone who cannot have ejaculate is fine, why does it say shechva zera, that he has someone who can ejaculate? So he says we learned something else from it. We learned that that only you can warn her against regular relations in the normal fashion, but not davar acher. What's davar acher? When you warn her against having relations, not in the normal way, but anally. So Rava says, why not? Even anally, the Torah says mishkaveish. It says plural. Any type of fashion, the way you lie with the woman, could be the regular way or anally. The Rava says no. It's excluding if you just touched flesh to flesh, but you had no intimacy, no insertion. So Abaye says, but that is not considered a sin. It's not acceptable, but it's not a sin. It definitely doesn't break up a marriage. So he says, Abaye says, if you did it derech neshika means where there was the two organs touched each other, but they didn't really go in. There's no insertion. So according to the one that says that hara, the beginning of sexual relation, physical relation, is where the organ goes inside of the woman, but when it just touches, it's nothing. Fine. You say this, and you can't warn against that type of relation. But one who says that the two sexual organs touching each other is already considered like insertion, what could we say? So we said no. We're talking about where flesh to flesh. I don't want you to be with this person even flesh to flesh, skin to skin. But we would think because for the husband it's meaningful and he's warning her against it, that's good enough to make it forbidden and he can break up his marriage. So Torah says, no, you cannot break up a marriage just based on what the husband says. You only break up a marriage based on what the Torah says is sexual relations. The end of today's page 26.